I'm Dr. Nagaraj, born in Mysore, studied up to my post graduation at Mysore. I had schooling in a private school called Sharda Vilas High School, and then I joined Sharda Vilas College and started studying general course. At that time, I had no idea why I am studying. Without any aim, without any objective, like any other, I was going to college and coming back home. Okay. And I had taken general BSc because the general BSc because the I failed in getting enough marks to get into engineering or medicine, which was vogue at that stage. Even today in Karnataka, most people rush to go to engineering courses or medical and dentistry. They don't look at other things. Okay. It is the Keralites who popularized our course
Wow.
and some North Indians. Okay.
Okay.
So the main problem with general course was I had to pay a meager amount of fees, which my father could not afford. We used to get a lot of granary, etc., from our field, but we didn't have cash. So every time I used to fail to pay for fees, and that year also I had not paid the fees, and therefore my results were withheld.
Oh.
And I was severely warned that I can't go to second BSc if I don't clear the fees of the first BSc. At that stage, the All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, then it was called All India Institute of Logopedics. I used to walk through that only, that board only every day, and I did not understand what logopedics was. Okay, so this course was introduced, and there was only, as a new course, there was no fees, only some 27 rupees to be paid as admission. So the main reason for me to get into this course was no fees. And for the next batch onwards, they started even paying stipend. Only our batch didn't get it. So I belonged to the first batch of BSc Speech and Hearing at All India Institute of Speech and Hearing. Then the institute building was not there. It was functioning from the centenary hall of Maharaja's College. Okay. So it was 1967. In June 20th or so, we started the program as such. There were 15 students, 2 dropped out later, and 13 of us stayed. Of them, only 3 or 4 of us are in India, rest of them are all outside. I had most of my teaching in the school level in Kannada, regional language. The big books attracted me. I used to take it from the library and was not able to read and understand. Okay. And there was not much of books also. Even today, I have never read a full book at any one given moment. I have read chapters and chapters as and when required to teach or as and when required to look into review, etc. Art to explain. So I was not a voracious reader of textbooks. And I used to take interest in knowing how things happen. And Dr. Ratna was the only teacher when we joined, and he had one almara of books of his own. So there was not much books then. Slowly it started gathering, and at that stage, in 1967, from America, professors were supposed to have joined India. So Wendell Johnson and others were supposed to have come, and they have even emailed the books. Books arrived. By the time Nixon became the president, and there was relationship problem, and therefore they did not come. Wow. Okay. So Dr. Kapoor, YP Kapoor, as Joint Director of All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, taught us. He was a ENT professor. He used to come from Vellore for 2 days in a week, and he used to teach speech pathology. Dr. Ratna used to speech. Dr. Kapoor used to teach audiology, and Dr. Ratna speech pathology. Okay. Simultaneously at Bombay, at Nair Hospital, the Hiranandani, Professor Hiranandani AENT, started the same program, but as a diploma, not as a degree. Okay. Before our BSc batch, to train the faculty, they had drawn what is called pre-MSc program. That is, for 1 year, they will study preliminaries with their backing as postgraduates in linguistics or mathematics or physics or psychology, and do the other 2 years expertise in our field and become our lecturers. So that's how the first batch, Manoharan, Mr. Pandale, Mr. Sridharan, etc. And even now, Pratibha Karant, Dr. Shivaran, Shivshankar, they don't have basic degrees. We are the first people to have basic degree in speech and hearing, and then to continue as MScs and then progress. Pre-MSc's background, they had basic degree, something else, and then did this. When I joined, these people who are already joined and who are already postgraduates and matured by 5-6 years elder to us, they went on telling, why did you join this? Nobody knows who it is. What job do we get? We don't get any job. If you want, you change it now itself, kind of a thing. Wow. That's why you will see in first few batches, many people shifted to banks, etc. for working. Okay. But it interested me because Dr. Ratna used to give therapy then. He used to handle hard of hearing children, stutters, etc. That made me interested and to take interest in knowing how it works. And it helps people. That way, I got interested and started knowing from Ratna's doing and trying to find the logic behind it. Learned less from book, but more from Dr. Ratna's. I couldn't go directly to MSc. There were only 5 seats in MSc.
Okay.
For us.
Okay.
And I was the 5th fellow, but a lady by, I should not use the name, a lady got a sponsorment from the Andhra government as their candidate.
Okay.
And therefore, we who were there at the 5th, 6th position, we didn't get.
Okay.
So I had to move and looking for a job. Yeah. At that time, the first job that I took was on a research project funded by VRA Funds of America to Kashi Vidyapeeth, Social Work Department. Professor Shambhunath Singh had a project on education, treatment and rehabilitation of mentally retarded children. There were 7 posts of speech therapists. They showed that speech therapists are not available in India and had filled 6 posts with social workers.
Okay.
And the last post, because Srimali, the then Vice Chancellor of Mysore, had moved to the Vice Chancellor of BHU, and he said, who told you that there is no course or there is no program? There is program. And he asked Dharamraj, then Director of Mysore, to send a candidate, so I was sent. So I was the only speech therapist who worked there. I didn't get MSc directly. I worked for 1 year in Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi, and then came back to do MSc in the second batch. Yes, I did a foolish thing. That is your area. I wanted to measure what is called as optimal pitch. With the optimal pitch, we defined as that pitch which is most convenient and produces the loudest possible voice, comfortable habitual voice, with minimum physiological effort.
Yes.
Okay. So I took a tennis ball, cut it into 2 portions, okay, and introduced a catheter tightly, and then connected the tube to a manometer U-tube, which are the colored fluid as such, and it has in millimeters the markings. So the person has to hold it on the mouth and say ah, e, u. It made no difference. By that time, I had written that methodology to Harry Holian. Okay, He was a famous man then.
Yeah.
He said, "You are most stupid." During that time, we had to do through mail, sea mail or air mail.
Yes.
Mail, by the time it went and came back, already 3 months were over. He said, "You are making only measurement of static pressure change.
Yeah.
Speech is a very dynamic activity. You cannot make differences in pitch, etc., using the pressure variations. For that also, you should have used a transducer, not a mechanical way of doing it. This is totally wrong."
Okay.
So it was already December. So I had to drop that subject and pick. That was in 1968. There was a new article written by James Jerger, new approach to audiometry, speech audiometry. And he has introduced synthetic speech identification test. Okay, it was sentence test, but the sentences were synthetic. Synthetic in the sense they follow only the word order probability or sound order probability to form a sentence. It is not connected with meaning.
Okay.
So first order sentences were simply picked up by random table, whatever the number fell on the particular words, those were picked up and grouped as 7 words, and those were used as sentences. In the second order sentences, from the random table, 1 word will be picked up. That word will be given to a speaker, and he has to use that word in the initial position and say a sentence. The second word, which follows the first word, will be picked up and given to another. So like that, using 6 people, a 7-word sentence was created, which came nearer to naturality, but did not mean anything. It was nonsensical almost. So to remember a 7-word sentence and to repeat it, it would become difficult. And also to kill the external redundancy, a competing signal, a cold running speech was introduced along with it. Therefore, they have to identify the number of sentences only and they need not have to repeat. And press that button, which will make a bulb glow on the opposite side, on the tester side. So this test was done first time in Canada as synthetic sentence identification test. That was my MSc dissertation. First job that I took up was with Guild of Service, Mangalore. Guild of Service was a ladies' organization. They heard about speech and hearing problems, and there was nothing in Mangalore to help, and all those people had to come to Mysore. And for that reason, they wanted to start a small clinical facility. So for a 500 rupees job, Dr. Ratna said, "You go and work there." So I went there. So my job description was, 1, creating awareness and trying to get the patients. 2nd, create clinical infrastructure required to conduct a program. And 3rd, to generate funds if possible to help the institution move forward. In this same time, I had applied for Southeastern Railway Hospital also. So in the Guild of Service, I started looking at the building that they have provided, which was from the municipality. So they had good connections with that. So I, with the help of Murthy, then the electronic engineer at Mysore, I devised a audiometric room. That was my first bad job.
Okay.
Instead of acoustic tiles, we used sponge sheets to be put up. I did not understand the specifications correctly, and I ordered wrong material and put it up. In fact, it really helped. It brought down the sound levels, but it becomes too bulky to hold on. Okay. So by that time, it was January 74, and Southeastern Railway Hospital had called for the interview.
Okay.
So I requested my people to allow me. They said, "No, you can't go and attend the interview. Either you have to give up the job or go in." So I was working on the sword's edge. If I give up the job and go there and do not get it, I will be unemployed. Otherwise, I can't attend the interview at all, and I have to settle with this job only. And Southeastern Hospital, Railway Hospital, Calcutta was a government job. It's a technician, railway hospital. It's a technician job. The person who created was additional chief medical officer. He was ENT FRCS from London. Okay. So he had created the post and he interviewed and he insisted that I should join there immediately. So I requested them that I should get some time, but they said, no, nothing doing. Either you are joining or you are not joining. So I joined immediately and then requested Dattatreya to take over from me and convinced the Guild of Service Dattatreya will continue well in my post. Okay. So my second job was the Southeastern Railway Hospital. But by the time I started working there, the person who was additional CMO became CMO and he was not at all available and OPD was not run. Only he used to do operations. Okay. So therefore, a ENT specialist started from coming from Kharagpur, nearer to Calcutta. It is also a Southeastern Railway Hospital. That fellow said, I don't know audiology, all those things. Sit outside the room and call the patients in. So I became a ward boy. I did that for 2 months, got bored and resigned and went back to Mysore. Wow. I worked with Dr. Nikam for honorarily in her department for 2 months. By that time, Neena Puri, my classmate, was working in nursing college. Opposite that, Balwant Rai Mehta Vidya Bhavan had started an integrated setup. Balwant Rai Mehta Vidya Bhavan was a public school of about nearly 1,100 children and from 0 to 12th standard. And there was a special section for the deaf and for MR, 2 separate sections. And I had to work as speech therapist for both and also create infrastructure necessary for HI. So this time I built a proper audiometric room in the school and started taking therapy, etc. It was partial integration. For classes, they wouldn't go. They will be taught by special educators. For recreation, for prayer, for sports, for extracurricular activities, they participate with other school children. So I worked there. While working, the post came up of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences audiologist post, and I got selected and I worked for 4 years as the first trained audiologist to the Department of ENT. They had an American project. The AIMS itself was an American hospital built by Americans for India at that stage in 1956. And it was declared as a by Parliament Act, independent university-like setup who will train the medical specialists there. So it was a huge organization, and the rehabilitation unit in speech pathology and audiology was a part of ENT department. At that time, headed by a person called Professor Sinha. Okay. He retired very soon, and Professor Kakkar took over. And RUS chief was Dr. B.M. Abral. Dr. B.M. Abral was a laryngologist, very good laryngologist. Dr. Kakkar was a very good otologist. So I had to deal with both. And my main problem was dealing with undertrained audiometricians who would manipulate and put up the audiogram because the workload was very heavy. 40 to 50 patients a day for audiometry, so it would become difficult. So there I had to make them understand what is masking, why it is important, what is speech audiometry, why it should be done. So slowly the ENT started getting interested in my test results and I started doing Bekasi. And at that time, the Danish government entered into a understanding with India government and started providing DAN aids, hearing aids given under Danish government. Also, they equipped the audiological setups in 5 centers, that is All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Mysore, Nair Hospital, Mumbai, Banaras Hindu University Medical College, and then Vellore Center. These 5 centers were equipped by the Danish government, And simultaneously elsewhere as the world, we got impedance audiometries made by Madsen. Okay. Madsen was a Copenhagen-based company then. Later it was in Canada. They went to Canada. I had met Madsen in Canada. So we were the first people simultaneously introduced to impedance audiometry as anywhere in the world. Okay, through a workshop and training by Olsen coming down from Copenhagen and conducting a workshop at All India Institute of Speech and Hearing to these five-centered audiologists. So Professor Jagdish, myself, were two alumni of All India Institute of Speech and Hearing who were trained on that. So slowly technology helped me to develop and gain a good name as an audiologist. That led me to take classes for MD and MS students related to speech and hearing. And also some students started taking interest in doing their master's dissertations. So one student, a neurologist, took myasthenia gravis and impedance audiometry, and I helped him collect data, and with the initial reading will be either very high level of threshold for reflex, which will come down after prostatectomy 30 minutes, or no threshold, we will get it a high level. So we did it on 5K patients only because 1 in 10,000 is a myasthenia gravis affected hearing impaired person. This got published in the elsewhere, the international journal, and I was the 5th author for that.
Wow.
Okay. So like that, the clinical and research interest started developing at All India Institute of Medical Sciences. And I made ENTC that if properly done, the audiological information is very useful for them for not only middle ear, but beyond also. Okay. Same time, NIMHANS called for the post of a new lecturer in speech pathology in Department of Neurology. Okay. It was meant for someone else, but that someone else was doing PhD. So therefore, she couldn't qualify to apply as she was on study leave, paid leave, and she had to complete that responsibility. So I was selected. So I was a proxy. Okay. And my working in AIIMS helped me to gain that job. There, the focus was entirely different. When I joined NIMHANS, I again applied for a DGHS funded research project on early identification of hearing loss. Director said, sorry, I can't forward this. This is not our interest. If you want to study all these things, please go back to AIIMS and ENT sections. We are interested, our priorities are neurologically affected, afflicted, psychiatrically affected, afflicted, communication disordered patients. You have to work only with them. Therefore, I have to refocus and shift from my interest of hearing health and hearing rehabilitation to speech and language and communication disorders related to neurological problems. Okay. So bedside testing of stroke patients, I had never done it before. I had to relearn the whole process. And while doing, develop the department. A stage came in NIMHANS, maybe I joined in 79 and 80, this meeting took place, and people objected that I am not seeing the cases referred from psychology, referred from child guidance, referred from the psychiatry, and concentrate mainly on neurology and neurosurgery. The chief of neurology department, under whom I was working, gave them back and saying that we created the post, we wanted it, so if you want, you create your post. We give priority to our patients. Then the Professor Emeritus, Dr. Verma, who was formerly the NIMHANS director, he told Dr. Reddy, the then director, is it possible to create for every department one post? Separate that department, let it will be his headache to manage time and do the work. Don't create any posts, okay, for anybody. Make it independent, it will grow on its own. So that's how a first department, non-medical department of speech language pathology in a medical establishment headed by a speech engineering person was started at Nimans.
Wow.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I started their neuro-audiological facility and started looking into what happens if there is tumors, etc. in those patients, how the hearing is going to be affected. At that time, Dr. Cad's work on SSW was very much in vogue as a test for central auditory disorders. We used to call it as CAD, central auditory disorders. Nowadays, they call it as a different name. Okay. So, my PhD I registered under the Bangalore University with Dr. Reddy, a neurosurgeon, as my guide and started collecting data there. I introduced and brought speech tests which could be used and testing neuroaudiological findings as such. So I got my PhD in 88 after leaving this one. By that time, a new institution was created in Bombay. It was supposed to have been started at Hyderabad, but due to a lot of political changes, it was brought to Bombay. It was called National Institute for Hearing Impaired, but since it Ali Jung National Institute for Hearing Handicapped at Bandra. Okay. It was titled after him, Ali Jung National Institute for Hearing Handicapped at Bandra. Okay. They were looking for a director. There were not anybody available in their interest. So they made the director of the Institute for Physical Medicine and of Haji Ali as in charge of this institution also. So he was not really competent to look at how the institution should come forward. Therefore, they were looking at least they will create a deputy director technical. And I attended the interview and I got selected. I was the first deputy director technical who has to work under a physical medicine person as director. He did not know anything about the communication disorders and how it should be. He had known physiotherapy, occupational therapy, and he could guide them how to do. Here he was blank, but he was not accepting that and had to start fighting with him. Okay. And the infrastructure has to be developed differently than what it was planned. So it was big fight between me and him, which made me to go back to Bangalore. Okay. Saying that this is not the way to run the institution. So I don't agree to it. Again, they pulled me back, saying that no, you can't get away. You have to come back. So I took over the reins and developed the infrastructures, developed the departments, developed the techniques. The difference between the work that I did at Ali Jung National Institute and other places are, I was not supposed to look into what is happening in one patient. I had to develop infrastructure that will work all over the country. I had to set up several non-governmental organizations which could take over function and give primary facility in their area. So I had to travel a lot. I had to scout out people. I had to get support from government, transfer technology, develop them. That was a major task for me. When I was giving therapy, when I was giving in the clinic, one day a joint secretary came and said, we pay 5 times to a therapist. If you are doing this, go back to the Nimans. Don't do all that nonsense. Get out and work and kind of. So I had a very tough time in the beginning, but I built it up. I built up brick by brick. Only the building was there. What should be there inside, how it should function. Everything was put up by me. And most of it is agreed to after a lot of arguments and counter checking with several people, etc. At that time, Dr. Ratna was the director at All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, and he had some difficulties, and he was badly required by the ministry to come to Bombay. Okay. So he handed over the reins there to Dr. Nikam and came to Mumbai as such. So under his guidance, I worked and he understood most of the things that I was putting up and I was struggling to develop. And we both developed it as such. In the initial stage, the Oliver Jung did not think of any speech and hearing courses. They were interested in education of the deaf, rehabilitation of the deaf. They were not interested in communication disorders.
Okay.
The focus of the institute was entirely different from the focus of All India Institute of Speech and Hearing. And also the arguments were in the ministry like that only. There is an institution which bothers about health sector. They should work on prevention, they should work on communication disorders, etc. We have to work on rehabilitating people who are affected. We are not interested in, so we have to develop infrastructure and support base for that in the country. So the focus of Oliver Jung National Institute, that's why they did not specify a qualification for the director. For a deputy director, technical PhD became a necessity. And for director, a man of eminence, that's all, who is working in the area of deafness. He did not have to have this one. So it could be open to educationist, a ENT, or to a speech and hearing person, whoever who is working. And many a time, the executive councils had people like that. Saraswati Narayan Swami, Sister Rita Mary, who were qualification-wise no match to any of the people qualified in speech and hearing, but who had established well-known institutions, supported and brought in the social pressure to do things at state level. Tamil Nadu excelled in education of the deaf because of these people's pressure. They brought in advocacy groups of parents. They brought in pressure on government to look up things differently, not from academic point of view, but from rehabilitation point of view, but from rights point of view. Okay. So the problem at that time was hearing aid, availability of hearing aid. Indo-Danish came and we were providing that, battery became a problem. Then we started making battery and adapters for that hearing aids and giving it. And these hearing aids were all then, technology-wise, were all integrated analog systems rather than digital system. Then there is a shift over that had to be made, and then lots of fights has to be taking place at the level of bureaucratic level as to make them know why certain facilities and features has to be there. For example, if children want to use a telephone, why there should be a telephone coil? We have to tell them group hearing aids has to be managed, and telephone coils does not mean only telephone usage. It allows other systems of technology to be made available to these children, etc. kinds of things. So in the initial stages, we fought and brought in several. One is economic level. Another is technology-wise improvement. Third is cheating by companies. We have to manage that. Fourth one was audiology being looked up from commercial angle, which we could not fight at all. We ourselves created some problems by making diploma programs which are lower to graduate programs, and these people started acting as if they are audiologists and selling only hearing aids. Okay, their interest was selling hearing aids. So some problems in reaching the mass and producing diplomas resulted in lowering the standards. Okay, it was not intentional, but it happened. If you bring people from the district level, etc., and make them learn at Bombay, they will stay at the Bombay itself, Calcutta itself, Hyderabad itself. They will not go back. I had big argument in saying that we should not conduct diploma programs in bigger cities. We should be held at district level itself, and they should disperse at the district level itself. So facility will be available at district and below levels. It didn't take place that way. Now also DHLS is being continued and being done. Then the government started realizing there should be a regulating authority what this fellow is saying is right. If there is anybody who is allowed to, then they will do anything they like. So the question of bringing about a regulator authority started in the early 80s and really ended up in formation of Rehabilitation Council of India, and then regulation started taking place. So I stayed at Oliver Jung for the longest period, 16 years. But I didn't realize I was sitting on the only promotional post above all, next to director only. Okay. My next post was director. My below posts are all at reader level, and they are all frustrated because they have no promotion at all.
Right.
If I vacate, they get a chance.
Yeah.
But I had no chance to vacate as such. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that such stage, the something mishap happened at the Oliver Jung. They didn't want me to be a director, and they could not dislodge me in the right way because I had worked for 16 years. I had a PhD. I had 46 publications by then. All publications are not of international level. I was never interested in publishing anything for international people.
Okay.
I had visited Italy in 82, attended the workshop on APRs, second international workshop. I had attended in 1985 the American workshop, and then in 1988 I represented Government of India along with Dr. Nikam and Rangasai to learn more about how things happening in US in audiological rehabilitation by visitation to various centers and universities.
Wow.
We, across 8 weeks, covered American setups, including the Seattle CAD, and then the Gallaudet, and then several programs and several universities. Okay. The American himself would not have seen so many places and so many academic centers as such. So I had a background. We had a background. So we try to incorporate many of it in India, but due to various reasons, it did not really take place. And probably America does not have an answer to our problems.
That's right.
Okay. One of the professors rightly put it across to me. Yes, we have done all this. We have given government hearing aids. We have given 3 of them. I'm not interested in hearing all those. How do you ensure they use it? Okay. How do you ensure that the given hearing aid is used and that helps in communication development?
Yeah.
Okay. Even today, that's the question. Implant and living is no use. Of course, AVT setups are there. They will attend for 6 months or 1 year. After that, who will follow? Follow up is a question. We are doing newborn risk baby screening from Institute of Speech and Hearing at government hospitals. We have understandings. We screen them. Failed one has to be followed up. Okay. When they come for vaccination, we request them, we try to. The follow-up rate is so poor. Vaccination, for that, they need not have to come back to the same place. It could take place in a PHC. So they miss the vaccination here, may have taken vaccination elsewhere.
Yeah.
And followed up people over phone, etc., because of technology, they say, look, you are identifying that my child may be deaf, had made my husband leave me, and I am now earning through doing something. How can I leave that and come to your institute? So the socio-economic problems that India faces, that the Indian faces, cannot be answered by studies done at America or at this. Their socio-economic and the social level and understanding are different. They also have problems. It's not that. We have to work out our solutions ourselves. My strength as AYJ Deputy Director was to give a support to NGO and start up many NGOs who would undertake preliminary work. That made me known across the country through various, I worked up a lot in Kerala, in West Bengal, in northeastern sector, etc. By the time I was leaving the institution, I had established 9 centers in 5 states.
Wow.
They are called district disability rehabilitation centers. Okay, which were to be taken over after a time by the state governments themselves or the NGOs themselves who are doing it as such. Many of them are doing well now. Okay, so my strength became while doing all these things on institutional building. And not only institutional building, if you start a program, it has to sustain. For example, in Dr. S.R. Chandrasekhara Institute of Speech and Hearing, which I left 2 days back,
Okay.
using that child, we train the mother. It is training to the mother of the child with hearing handicap. It is not to the child itself.
Okay.
Using that child, we train the mother. That mother get training on the preschool skills and communication needs.
Okay.
The child is made to be capable of going to any regular school available, whether it speaks or not. It can access information through reading, writing. The mother knows. Many illiterate mothers, they became illiterates along with this training, okay, and took care of their children. It is training to mothers. And those mothers, when they get back to their position after 2-3 years, they send their children, manage their children in the regular schools, and in the rest of the time, they start supporting such mothers found in the nearby areas.
Wow.
This is how I worked. And this is how things have to take place in India. Because everything cannot be looked up from the government angle. Community has to participate. And community, it is the parents who are the most committed, not the professional, maybe PhD. They may hear Ratna Shetty, who is the mother, whose son is a MTech and works in a being deaf. Being deaf did not stop him from completing MTech, going to US and get back to a huge MNC and head a sector in the MNC. He is a deaf person. They see that as an achievement and here Ratna Shetty, not Dr. Nagaraj. So that's how the mother's training program becomes useful. Very recently, I lost one of my friend, okay, Saraswati Narayan Swami, who did lot of work. Only 3 days ago, we lost her. Balavidyalaya is an excellent center. It is as a mother, she understood what should be done. And they worked up and they didn't stop at doing their job only to their children, built up facility which strengthened parents and they take care of that organization and they spread that. This is what is required. Even in America, it happened. John Tracy program was Spencer Tracy's child. John was the name of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so mothers are the parents are the most committed people to their children and their program has to be strengthened. So rehabilitation, according to me, is not just talking.
Yeah.
There are several people among us who do not know how to talk. There is nothing wrong with our speech or communication language or anything. But at a given moment, I don't know how to come out with. I don't have the expression. All children in the class do not ask questions.
Right.
If they are asked questions, they are not able to answer you back even when they have information. If you ask them to write, they will write. They do excellently well in the examination. But if they ask them to teach, they can't teach. Okay. For me, even in master's speech and hearing, I was a second class student, 59 point something. I'm not a first class student. But those of us classmates who were first class, they didn't do so well as I did. It all depends on how you perceive. And in communication disorders, nowadays, so much specialization has taken place. Swallowing disorders in our time was not possible. Only drooling I used to control for CP children. Okay. I never thought that I should be able to work with. Only in laryngectomy, esophageal speech I used to do. I can even today take out a belch and talk. But that is not enough. The medical SLPs work differently. That is a, not all need not have to be neuro communication specialists. All need not have to be medical SLPs. A few who get into those centers should know it. Okay, and it's also not a private practice kind of a situation in India as yet. Because of post-COVID, we are working on telerehabilitation, teletherapy, home packages, etc. kind of a thing, which we are trying to develop according to our cultural needs, according to our language and linguistic needs. Most people are fascinated. They buy things from America and try to put it. It will not match. The kind of breakfast, if you explain in America and in India, they are totally different. What is muffin? I hardly know what is muffin. Even within India, between a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian, we don't know. Okay. So therefore, it has to be appropriate to the circumstances and the culture with which the child is coming up. And it has to be done as individual programs and taken later to a group program as such. So my strength, according to me, is in skill transfer, not really knowledge transfer. I am jack of all, master of none. Okay. I could not specialize myself as a neuro audiologist or as a neuro communication expert or even as an expert in rehabilitation of XYZ. What I saw was what should be done as a community responsibility. And also what I fought through all this is, it is not theoretical overloading of student alone. Curriculum development is not putting what you know as knowledge into the book or into the syllabus. It is what should be taught at a particular level for a particular skill. That is not understood. The Rehabilitation Council of India, especially a few years back, was chaired by head of the department of Nimhan speech pathology, who put in so much of neuro information which is not at all required and removed psychological informations which were there, which was very necessary to develop a speech pathologist.
Wow.
So these biases, that is what I should know should be there in the syllabus, is a wrong way of creating curriculum.
That's right.
What should be transferred at BSc level, it is therapy techniques. It's identification therapy techniques. Okay, not so much of theory to be put in. Bifurcation of combined master's program is according to world standard. We are back. Okay, but that is what we require. Why should a MASLP be closed? For MSc in audiology or MSc in speech, there are no jobs. And all job creators are private people, non-governmental organizations. They can't afford two posts. The person who joins as speech pathologist should also know audiology. As audiologist should also know speech pathology. So what is required is a post-graduation in both. Yes, certain deep level information may be missed. It is not routinely required. What is routinely required is the understanding of a patient and what should be done with him. Not your knowledge required for doing research. And deep-seated research, they have already been internationally looked into. It is not only you who look into. Maybe we are late in doing that. People identify and work on so many things. Okay, which to us may not be required at this stage. Basic information need not be digged into. Applied information has to be looked into. If we do that, time will be saved. Of course, people consider if we talk like this as idiots because our level of communication is different with the newer this one. They go by fancy. Okay. So now the students have also realized by doing only MSc speech pathology, I'm not going to get a job. By doing only MSc audiology, I'm not going to. But the people who are pushed it, All India Institute of Speech Engineering, the staff there, they were strengthening their own positions, not the profession.
Okay.
Growing individually as an individual and contributing and becoming big is something totally different than working for the whole of the country as a curriculum to be transferred at diploma level, graduate level, postgraduate level, etc. This thinking has to come. The basic documentation, how it should be, and what information you should retain and what information can be discarded should be taught at the level right from the beginning to the top. That documentation is not taught in India. Nobody knows how to do properly this one. Once they get into practice, either due to overwork or due to lack of exposure, they don't document at all. So we miss out lot of information that gives lot of newer thoughts because of poor documentation.
Okay.
This has to be improved. I went into two types of things. At that time, my daughter started studying in US at Carnegie Mellon, which was a very, I need to pay only her main maintenance, not the fees as such.
Wow.
Fees was given through bank loan. But sending $1,000 for her to stay was a tough job for me. At that time, it was 42,000 rupees a month. So I had to take up jobs in 2-3 places. Okay. So I had now no rest. So I went to Hyderabad Svikar Upkar and worked 3 days there, worked 3 days in Bangalore and 2 days in Kerala.
Wow.
The Association for the Welfare of the Disabled, AWH Calicut. So I used to manage time. Okay. So travel time was during night, like that. And I developed in them what was not there as an infrastructure in them and know-how as to how to run a program. Okay. The Institute of Speech and Hearing Bangalore existed from 77, but they were not able to fill the 20 seats itself in the beginning because they did not have a hostel facility for the outside students to come in. They didn't have laboratories.
Yes.
Okay. Merely having a clinical facility will not enable you to run an academic program. And there were people before me as principal. They were connected with high ranking people, but they did not think about how to run an institution. Same thing happened at Hyderabad. It was run by a pediatrician. Okay. And the clinical material was damn good, but he did not know how to run it, how to use that for developing it as a material for academic growth.
Okay.
I contributed there. Okay, how a college should be, what is required for giving therapy, for what are therapy rooms, why they should be a 16 by 16 room. I can create 4 rooms there. Why a HOD should, it is not HOD who requires a room. HOD requires a cabin because she may have to scold the juniors, which can't be done openly. Of course, I have done that openly, corridors also. But privacy is required for confidentiality. All need not have to have that. So it is not for consultants the room or the therapist the room, it is for the activity. So for what type of activity, what type of a room was there, what type of dimensions it requires. Okay, why should there be AC? If the window is open, you work with an open window, all need not have to be AC. Okay, so like this, according to our own requirement, according to what we have a space, what can be created there. Okay, so like that, the existing facility with minimum donations, etc. All these institutions, the Dr. S.R. Chandrasekhara Institute of Speech and Hearing Bangalore, the Svikar Upkar at Hyderabad, AWH possibly slightly richer because they used to get money from Middle East.
Okay.
Kerala is working in the Middle East and Muslim community used to donate. Okay. So money was, you don't have money for everything that you intend to do, you have to generate money. And then After starting it, you have to sustain it.
Mhm.
It is not just, it is like CSR.
Okay.
Okay. CSR funds, they don't give for salaries, etc., because they don't know what is next year my profit.
That's right.
This out of this year profit, 3% or 5% has to be used by the company
Uh-huh.
for so as a social responsibility. So I give you that. Okay, you want to buy computers, you buy computers. Or you want to buy an audiometer, buy an audiometer. Show us how you used it and how many people you helped. Don't ask me the salary of the audiologist. Agree to it. So I have to generate salary.
Mhm.
So for that, I need to have a program. Okay.
Mhm.
So like this, I went to several institutions. I was associated with the National Institute for Speech and Hearing at Trivandrum.
Okay.
Okay, who could take dissertations. So I used to visit for 2 days. Under me, the other MSCs used to take dissertations as co-guides, and nominal guide was me. And they also wanted technical assistance on how to build the institution, what therapy rooms, what type of things, etc.
Mhm.
So the type of work that I did in various places
Mhm.
was on building infrastructure, required infrastructure. Why is it required? What is the uh, population that it should serve?
Mhm.
What should be the type of work that should take, like that? So while I am there, they would like to use me for multiple tasks. They are paying me heavily, so they would not just like me to be just an advisor. So I
Yes.
used to start taking classes from first year BSc to final MSc.
Okay.
Along with my visits, I have to teach also. I have to guide dissertations also in these
Okay.
centers.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mhm.
Slowly, I started giving up here and there.
Mhm.
Okay. And in 14, I retired from the SRC Institute, and Rangsai went and took there
Okay. Uh-huh.
this position.
Mhm.
And he became attained 65 in 18, so they didn't want to continue him. And
Okay.
again, they called me back as advisor.
Uh-huh.
And when I went advisor and they started giving me administrative work, the title advisor did not match, so they called me a chief executive officer.
All right.
So I continued up to this, and during this COVID lockdown, they
Uh-huh.
didn't see why I should be paid
Okay.
as a highest officer,
Mhm.
and my writing that I am not able to visit physically helped them to ease me out, and
Okay.
it doesn't hurt me at all. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
therefore,
Mhm.
I used all my time,
Mhm.
whether in positions or not. After retiring from, I'm the only fellow who had the retirement benefit from 3 institutions
Wow.
combined and given from,
Okay.
because my services were not broken. I had taken care of that.
Mhm.
So I carried forward my service from All India Institute of Medical Sciences to National Institute for Mental Health and Neurosciences to Aliya Virgin,
Yeah.
and retired with pension benefits. Okay. That pension saw me through to get into NGOs and help them, even though they are not able to pay at the government level.
Wow.
Whatever they were paying was enough for me. Okay.
Okay.
And money never really mattered. I earned enough to live myself, and God was great to favor me to give more than what I required. Okay. So most often I have contributed
Mhm.
in terms of building an organization,
Mhm.
building its activities, more than as a aphasiologist or as a XYZ expert. That's why my contributions are not at international level.
Mhm.
My contributions are only at national level, and I'm only known at national level.
Mhm.
First, I thought it was Aliya National Institute for Hearing Handicap,
Mhm.
but the things that happened there later distanced me from the students, and I thought a teacher should be approachable by students.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I gave a lot of freedom to that, which was misused.
Okay.
The students are not really to be blamed. It is to keep some me out of something that the distance.
Okay.
So though I liked AYJ a lot, I couldn't go back, or I did not think appropriate to get back there.
Okay.
Then I built Dr. S.R. Chandrasekhar Institute.
Mhm.
I left it once and then went back and I rebuilt it and again retired and again called back and did it.
Okay.
If at all I get an opportunity, I may go back to Dr. SRCI rather than anywhere else. My greatest contribution is to that institute. Presently, a separate research center was added to Dr. S.R. Chandrasekhar Institute of Speech and Hearing called B.N. Gupta. B.N. Gupta is the donor. B.N. Gupta Research Center. And that research center being separate and had the capability was recognized by Manipal Academy of Higher Education. And under that now, 9 people have registered for PhD work. That is my contribution. On early identification, I worked a lot, not on modern techniques. During our time, behavioral response audiometry, northern and downs. Okay. Okay. Early identification, I did a lot of work. And rehabilitation of the hearing handicap, I did a lot. Educational audiology, I did a lot. And then also I was not a person who is against sign language. I developed sign language in AYJ. Okay, that was one of my dissenting factor by many. Sister Rita Mary didn't like me, or Saraswati Narayan Swami didn't see a national institute encouraging sign language as such.
Okay.
I developed a sign language and a sign language teaching methods, etc., kinds of thing with the help of deaf themselves, helping deaf them, adult deaf. Now, of course, there is an institution itself in Delhi for that. Okay. So my strength and my likings were UNICEF project that I conducted at the AYJ. Nowhere, no publications, no name.
Okay.
I coordinated, others took, people above me, people below me took advantage of it.
Wow.
Okay. Maybe I was not shrewd to convert whatever that I do into publications.
Okay.
That was not this one. Nor I did not have that time to devote to do it as such.
Okay.
So the research that the several other research, I developed a handheld screener while in AYJ to make screening, and then I had a TEP project, Techno Entrepreneur, with the DST, Ministry of Science and Technology, and developed a basic audiometric model which could be disposed if produced for 7,500 rupees.
Wow.
Out of that, 4,500 is for the transducers, headphone and the BC vibrator. The remaining is for the audiometer.
Okay.
So one big Indian manufacturer bought that even before that being completed and killed it, because he is still producing doctors which will cost 75,000 rupees to 1 lakh rupee, or even possibly nowadays much more than that. So if it is available at 8,000 rupees,
Yes.
so why will people go like that? So my idea was every PhD can have it. Okay, if it goes wrong, throw it. You can't do any further test being holding a diploma holder. You can do only ACBC and speech test. So you can't do anything more than that in that. No CC, no this one. Like it was a very basic model. Okay, the development cost was 14 lakhs, which was given by that. Okay, and it was developed through IIT Mumbai.
Wow.
I was not the designer. I was a developer. Okay, so like that, many thoughts of indigenously developing low-cost aids and low-cost means to do.
Okay.
Okay, interested me as research. My first few batch, I should say, are the best. They were committed. They were mischievous. Students will be always mischievous. We should not worry about their mischief, but they should be interested.
Yes.
Nowadays, the tendency is I can buy this degree. They come to buy the degree,
Okay.
buy the title. They
Mhm.
are not interested in studying. Okay. My method of teaching was totally different. It's total unorganized way of talking. I keep talking about something, put up something, and then go to something else and come back to it. Okay.
Uh-huh.
My idea is to make them know the basics,
Yes.
make them know what is being taught in that syllabus.
Yes.
How people there are people who keep textbooks and teach.
Mhm.
I never look into the textbook. You know, this one you need not. I ask them, you read this and come.
Mhm.
I don't read there.
Okay.
Reading is not the method of teaching. So what I saw in them is once they get interested, you should make them get interested, and once they get it, they do well.
Okay.
So it is according to me, senior most people should teach lower classes
Okay.
and allow the juniors to do higher classes.
Uh,
Once you reach a level, you can manage as a student on your own.
that's right.
You need a push. You create interest to create a base in the student, and then allowing them to grow requires skill and knowledge. Therefore, senior teachers should concentrate on junior classes.
That's right. Okay, that's a good concept. Yes.
And the teachers are also changed. This is my job, I will go and do. I'm not bothered whether they have learned or not.
Yes.
The students also get worried now. What if I'm using a this one phone? I said, fine, you are doing something on your phone. No, no, whatever. What was I talking about?
Mhm.
What did I tell? Come on, explain to class. Come here and do the class. They get annoyed. Why this fellow, this
Mhm.
old man come and do like this kind of thing. The
Okay.
commitment to the course, the commitment to become a professional
Mhm.
is not there in present generation of students.
Yeah.
I don't know why, where we have failed.
Okay.
I see the syllabus and the curriculum is wrongly built. It is American model.
Okay.
We don't need that American model in India.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Their schooling system is different. Their collegiate system is different. Ours is different.
Mhm.
You should not look at Asha and put all those which is there as syllabus in our curriculums.
Mhm. Yes.
You should devise what is required according to your own level.
Mhm.
Okay. Anatomy and physiology of head and neck,
Mhm.
what is taught at the level of nursing is sufficient for speech and hearing. It need not be taught at the level of neurologists
Okay.
or ENTs.
Mhm.
ENTs manage diseases, neurologists manage diseases. Speech and hearing need not have to manage disease.
Uh-huh.
You have to manage communication problems arising out of disease
Okay.
are leading to
Problem.
problems.
Okay.
That thought is not there in the people who do changes in syllabus.
Mhm.
They start thinking, I know this, so students should also know it.
Okay.
You know it because you have put in 20 years.
Uh-huh.
You should look at what the beginner should have,
Mhm.
what a specialist should have, etc. kind of a thing. This exercise of copying from other nations,
Mhm.
from advanced countries, and trying to compare it as necessity for our country should change.
Okay.
You should do it for your this one. I'm not decrying or saying anything.
Mhm.
They have years of experience and putting.
Mhm.
We also have nearly 65 years of experience in our field.
Okay.
Okay. So we are trying to put in.
Mhm.
Okay. In doing so, we ourselves have lot of cultural differences. There are differences between languages. All those things has to be brought in.
Mhm.
What I have to give is a frame. Whether you work with a Tamilian or work with a Maharashtrian or what, it is the same. According to the child, you set it. According to your client, you set it.
Uh-huh.
So I have to ingrain that frame only, not the particulars of XYZ languages or culture. That has to come in the basic levels.
Mhm.
After that, in depth you have to develop. Then you have to look in what happened in English population, what happened in Afro Americans,
Mhm.
what differences are there, etc. That may come at the level of pre-PhD, post-graduation, or PhD level, not at basic BSc level. If you teach everything in BSc, they know nothing.
Uh-huh.
Why for are we doing these tests?
Yes.
How is this test built in? Auditory physiology, if you understand, then you will understand clinical audiology. Without good auditory physiology, you don't understand why the clinical tests are built up like that.
Yeah.
That linkages and that thought has to be known to the lecturer who is doing it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So this type of skill transfer, what should be taught,
Mhm.
how much should be theory, and what should be the practical aspect has to be taught. In our university systems, we need to have one theory and basic practicals. I have talked about audiometry. I have to show them how to do it.
Yes.
Okay. The second part was how it should be used on clinical population. That should be the clinical practical.
Yeah.
Theory has its own practical.
Mhm.
How to administer test,
Yes.
what information it gives.
Uh-huh.
That could be done student to student and even without students virtually. Giving assumptions.
Mhm.
If somebody comes with such and such a complaint, what will you select? Why will you select? How will you administer?
Mhm.
Why are these questions? Why are these items? That can be done theoretically as well as demonstration wise.
Yeah.
But real practical wise
Mhm.
has to be done differently.
Uh-huh.
So the skill transfer has to be properly taught at all these levels for a faculty to take up. Last year you were MSc student and this year you are a lecturer. You yourself do not know how to transfer the information.
Yes.
What you have is information and not knowledge. That becomes a problem. And technology has also plays.
Mhm.
For all voice cases, you need not have to do the fees or any other test. What you need to do, what information it gives at what stage,
Uh-huh.
has to be done differently.
Yes.
For BSc, you need not have to ask for stroboscope, etc.
Yes.
The course becomes so costly if you ask that. Who will manage it?
Mhm.
Questions comes of hygiene and so many other things. Okay, it cannot be done mechanically. Many things can be done without it also. Okay, therefore, technology, I am not saying it's not required. It has to be appropriately and correctly used and not made compulsory for everything. To run BSc, you need to have so many. Give only basics for what should be there. Don't make demand. It's not All India Institute of Speech and Hearing or AYJ. Where will a NGO bring so much
Money.
He tries to increase the fees.
Yes.
He will say one semester 1 lakh rupee
Wow.
because he has to pay for everything. He has to generate money.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't sustain.
Mhm.
The kinds of things that are put up as norms by RCI cannot be met even by government institutions. For every course, they require a professor. You don't require a professor. The hierarchically,
Mhm.
lecturer does basic teaching and clinical work.
Mhm.
Higher than them takes up the responsibility of guidance and doing research. Above them as HODs and professors, they think about creating new knowledge. Okay. And then working out what works for our country, our culture, looking at others. For doing a diploma, why do you need to have a professor? This kind of thoughts put up HOD of former HOD of and Dean of NIMHANS has totally spoiled the way the courses are going on. It is so stringent and so burdened.
Okay.
All bookish way of doing it.
Uh-huh.
All American bookish way of doing it,
Wow.
which doesn't suit really our country. I'm not against
Yeah.
anything.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm saying what went, how it is going wrong. From time to time, you see, in the initial stages, it was a part of the otolaryngologist.
Mhm.
Okay, up to 1977, it was a part of otolaryngologist.
Okay.
At the National Otolaryngological Meet, the last one day will be exclusively given for this. And they themselves would point among themselves and become one of them as the president.
Mhm.
They always considered speech and hearing as technicians. And they wanted to develop us as technicians only and not more than that. And in 77, we fought and we became separate. At that stage, we were hardly about 50 people.
Mhm.
Okay. And it was in Calcutta conference that happened. And major players were from All India Institute of Speech and Hearing, Dr. Netraj,
Mhm.
Subramanya, late,
Mhm.
who took active interest in developing it. And even the fees that we had at that time, 100 rupees, 150 rupees, were not able to be paid by us.
Okay.
And conducting a conference, etc., became tough as such. So right from the beginning, we didn't have a proper thought in organizational setup. Okay, we were working as a gathering to know, and slowly it became a student controlled activity. I have a lot of students backing from me as a professor, so I will get myself elected for several things. And what I say becomes rule.
Mhm.
Slowly, of recent, it took organization more aspects. So right from the beginning, the constitution is okay. There is nothing wrong with the constitution.
Mhm.
There were several amendments we did to constitution. What we could not establish is right from the beginning, we should have been tagged with the government. There was no tag. We are like barking dogs. We have no power to bite. Okay, we don't have any legal authority on any member.
Mhm.
You can maximum if somebody is doing a malpractice, or if it is brought to the notice that one of the member is not doing properly, or does something commercially wrong, you can debar him from the your association. There are several people who are not members at all from your association,
Wow.
isn't it? So legally, you don't have a binding. If somebody gives a complaint that my child is wrongly diagnosed, or my child is deprived, or the guidance given to me was wrong, we will look into and can say whether it is right or wrong, but not do anything beyond it. So such kinds of fightings happened all across.
Mhm.
Should the neuroaudiology program, 1 year postgraduate diploma at AISH, should include basic MBBS people or not?
Okay.
If they include with this 1 year degree, they will make it that as a necessity for audiology and push away the audiology. So it should not be done. We fought.
Mhm.
And also we fought on moral ground. Doctors are so less in number as compared to population. Why they should be occupying our posts? Let them go and work as doctors.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. But again, it's overruled and it's been started there. Okay. Like this, diploma, should the diploma be continued or not?
Mhm.
Now, the government of India and Kerala under skill development program have included even 7 standards to become audiometricians.
Wow.
If all of them become audiometricians, then what happens to the level of education?
Mhm.
Okay. At one level, you as a BSc are not capable of going to grassroots level and do the work. Then why are you cribbing on? That question also, moral question also arises. How to control? How to keep a control? This has to go to court or something, or has to be debated, and then is Rehabilitation Council of India, which is hiring expert. It's just an organization which coordinates. That's all. Few people are 3 or 4 posts are higher. The rest are all clerical. Okay, they collect information from you and they control you.
Uh-huh.
They have got several expert committees like speech and hearing committee, psychology, etc., 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 education, special education, and they are all hired people, hired in the sense
Mhm.
pulled from national institutes, etc. Okay. So whatever they say becomes a ruling on people who work. How is it right? A few people,
Mhm.
they may get included in the committees through their own influences. How they can? There is lot of difference between Asha and this. RCA should have been like Isha.
Mhm.
Each professional association should select the members as expert by voting and then put them in RCA. Then there would have been a control. Nagaraja is well known, so let us put him there, should not be the criteria. Or I am head of a national institute and dean,
Mhm.
so I will chair, should not be the criteria. The constitution of RCI should in no way is
Mhm.
having a this one that the professional organizations will be given a representation.
Mhm. Okay.
There are speech and hearing people in speech and hearing subcommittee who are members of Isha, but they don't represent Isha. Isha in itself do not have
Mhm.
a hold in the functioning of the RCI. It should have been the other way around. You should have elected who should be the expert on what subject from your area and send them to Rehabilitation Council of India, which is a regulating authority. Then things would have worked differently.
Mhm.
And such kind of representation should be given by Isha members themselves.
Mhm.
They should write to government and say, don't select experts on your own.
Uh-huh.
We as an association have all members. We nominate by conducting election,
Mhm.
by nominating real experts and not by their position. Because juniors, private practitioners will never get a chance to get in there.
Uh-huh.
Either politically they should have influence to get in there, or they should be part of government institutions. However good you may be doing
Mhm.
at the level of field,
Mhm.
you don't get a representation there.
That's right.
So you don't, these people who are glorified members there do not know what should be there. That's why your curriculum will get affected. At grassroots level, what should be there? At higher level, what should be there? How it should be included
Mhm.
as a need in our curriculum.
Mhm.
In what way, in all, what all positions, in what way we do it. Do this Western model. Newborn screening is very, very important. But what is the priority that we can give against the health?
Mhm. Yeah.
How much of expenditure it is involved? How are we going to do? Our own NGOs ask, you are going and screening so many thousands. But what is the use to our institute? They ask that kind of question. Because we are spending money there. We have to send a van, we have to send you have to carry the equipment. It occupies so much time. If you were here, you would have seen patients. I would have earned money. What is the return? What is the return? So how to inculcate? What to be taught? What to be done?
Mhm.
By regulating courses, by regulating, how are you going to do if there is a malpractice? What are you going to do as RCI? There are institutions who said we have nothing to do with RCI because it's a law. After protesting and taking it to court, at a later date, you may say, though you are a medical college, you don't have freedom to do what you like with this course. Okay. Right now, the position is such. Therefore, it is the current executive members of the Isha to look at how to make it a coordinated activity between Isha and the RCI. Plus NAC, National Accreditation Council, and the universities. Different universities demand different things.
Mhm.
With lot of difficulties, we have kept away our courses from having regular
Mhm.
languages, English, Kannada,
Uh-huh.
literature courses as a necessity. But we couldn't avoid bringing Constitution of India, computer sciences, etc. kind of a thing. Though we say we teach computers in better way than
Uh-huh.
in basic computer science,
Okay.
there is lot of things like that which have to be sorted out.
Mhm.
Both at the authoritative level as well as association level.
Mm.
That association level, they should understand what is the need. Okay.
Yes.
So most often these conferences, the annual meets, turn out into an entertainment.
Okay.
In the halls, if you see, only some Buddhas like us will be sitting in the hearing to the papers. Most of the people to whom it is meant, they are all outside enjoying. If you, as my friend, presenting a paper, I will sit there. Otherwise, I will not sit there. I think it may happen even in Asha conventions. It is just a social meet convention rather than
Yes.
information knowledge sharing. I have two daughters. One daughter is married, and I have a grandson through her,
Okay.
and he must be in sixth standard, sixth or seventh. Okay. And my second daughter educated in US Carnegie Mellon and worked for a year there, and then US went into recession 2008. So she had to come back. She didn't have a job,
Okay.
and now she is a part of a college called Shruti College, which is taken over by Mahe now, Manipal, as a faculty. She's a human computer interaction specialist. She's done her MS from Carnegie Mellon University. So she's unmarried and she stays with me. Okay. And my wife is no longer there. 15 years I'm a widow here. It's a wonderful field. It is an independent field. It's a creative field. A speech pathologist has to be a good creative person. And all good audiologists are those who know language.
Okay.
Audiology is based on how language is organized in the brain and what is the meaning of auditory input. Okay. Whatever the scans that you may have, the evoke potentials, etc., you may have, those are all physiological responses. Okay. Beyond physiology, if you have to go and know audiology, you have to know how the language is organized in your brain and what your auditory signal means to you as a person. Okay. As a person, I said, collectively is different. The same information going into my brain and your brain gives different inferences, different auditory responses. I may take to ignore it. Okay. You may take it seriously and try to think something else. So the recent technology tells you whether the information is going correctly to correct centers. It is not able to tell you how it will be used or what reactions it will create in person. If you have to understand that, you should know my capacity to use language as a communication and metalinguistic skills that is happening in the brain.
Okay.
Okay. It's like mind and body. Mind has no representation within the body. But for mind to happen, mind is outside your body, and you develop that through your system.
Okay.
System has to be correct if the mind has to work properly outside. Okay, that kind of relation is there between audiology and language. So claiming that I don't need to have speech pathology or audiology is wrong. All good audiologists who contributed were people who had good knowledge of the language and how centrally it is managed. Okay, that's, I think, I don't have so much depth of knowledge, just superficially I have. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Nice Sunday. Thank you.